This is not the proper way to debate these motions. We have amendments to this motion that we have not had an opportunity to get to because we're not dealing with this in committee business the way that it should be. We have committed to hosting a subcommittee meeting to be able to deal with this and be able to move forward properly. That's been rejected. This has been something that clearly the opposition want to do in open committee, so that they can make a spectacle of it. And we had a number of cases where times where witnesses have been interrupted, to the point, Mr. Chair, that we had to, as was advised to us, take even more time to do sensitivity training when we have witnesses that have lived experience in front of us. And that was, I think, a very valuable experience. And I thank MP Blaney for suggesting that we go through that. But this happened last meeting. The witness even spoke to the disrespect that she was shown. And it's happened again today with witnesses here, which we did not get a chance to hear from. There is a process for these motions. All the other motions we've done have been done through that process. I would ask that the pushback that they're seeing from us is as a result of that process being broken, and the spectacle that this is attempting to create. With regard to the motion that is, the amendment that's in front of us, again, I'm not fundamentally against the amendment from Monsieur Desilets at all. I just think this is the wrong time and place to be doing these sorts of things. And I think that we absolutely need to reset this committee, get back to a subcommittee scenario where we're dealing with these motions appropriately. We have, how many motions do we, Mr. Speaker, can I ask quickly, because I don't have it readily in front of me, Mr. Chair, but how many motions do we actually already have on the docket right now? 7, 8? We are spending time on something that we've already spent a significant amount of time studying, and yet we have these other motions prepared, including one from myself, that I would very much like to get to, Mr. Chair. I would very much like to get to. I don't see us getting to these things if, in fact, we continue to interrupt witnesses with this kind of behavior from the opposition. And I think that we have to address, well, the opposition saying, well, just vote. Well, that's breaching my privilege to bring an amendment forward. That's breaching my privilege to discuss this appropriately. And there are amendments that I think would be reasonable amendments that the opposition may want to hear, but they don't want to hear them, Mr. Chair. They don't. This is a deep sea fishing exercise that they want to create a spectacle, and they want to create they want to politicize this. They think, oh, there must be something to hide because we're not supporting this. Well, that's nonsense. We have seen the minister already come to this committee to discuss this. Well, I'm glad, because you might have to, but I'm just I'm glad I'm amusing. I'm glad that I'm amusing.
Sorry. Please, Mr. May, you have the floor.
The opposition, Mr. Chair, I think that they're going to continue to hackle over what I think is a pertinent point regarding the process in which we deal with these types of motions, and they're going to laugh and they're going to make light of this, but this is the reality that we're facing right now, is that the rules, the process, it's being swept away because they want to make this into a political spectacle. They want to bog down the different departments with the production of documents. They want to bog down this committee with when we have motions in front of us, like the one, like I said, that I put forward, and I'll remind this committee that it is, and I would challenge this committee to argue that this is not something that we should be addressing. And so I'll read it again into the record, because maybe it's been so long that they've forgotten, but that pursuant to Standing Order 1082, the committee undertake a study on the experience of Indigenous veterans and Black veterans with regard to A, physical health, mental health, and safety concerns. B, supports for their transition to civilian life. C, sexual trauma during service. D, housing and homelessness. E, Veterans Affairs Canada programs and supports for them. And F, difficulties encountering during calls to participate in a foreign mission. That the committee invite the Minister of Veterans Affairs and department officials, that the committee hold no fewer than 6 meetings to hear from witnesses, that the committee report its findings and recommendations to the House, and that pursuant to Standing Order 109, the committee requests that the government table a comprehensive response to this report. That's one of I think 7 or 8 very good motions that we have in front of us that I think, if you were to actually poll veterans what they think we should be looking at, this would rank significantly higher. And I could go through all of the motions that we have, both from our side to, Monsieur Desilets' motions, to MP Blaney's motions, even a number that have been put forward by Mr. Richards, and I'll just read this one, that I would think that this committee should be seized with. I think that this committee should be seized with real fundamental work, and instead of grandstanding, instead of the politicking that has been happening in the last number of months. And I think that we have to recognize that when people are watching, when veterans are here, we need to respect their time. We need to respect their efforts to come here and inform this committee, instead of using this time to grandstand and to go on these fishing expeditions. I think that Mr. Chair, it's important for us to look at all of this and ask ourselves, how are we being perceived across the country? How is this committee being perceived across this country? And are we actually producing recommendations for the government to move on? And I'm given to believe that the opposition believe that this fishing expedition is more important than all of those other motions, right? And we got Mr. Tomey here pretending he's fishing and thinks that this is funny. I don't think this is funny. I think that we have to recognize that we are here to do a very serious job, and I think that we look at the behavior from the opposition. It's been called out by our witnesses. It's being called out by veterans online as disrespectful, and other words that I will not use in this place. And that should embarrass the members opposite. But instead, they're pantomiming and trying to make fun of this intervention that I'm doing right now. And I will wrap up, Mr. Chair, because I know there's others that want to speak to this. I think, Monsieur Desilets' amendment is a reasonable one. But I have amendments that I think are reasonable as well, that I think Monsieur Desilets would hopefully consider. And so it's not as simple as just saying, like Mr. Richards was saying, well, let's just vote on it. Let's just get this out of the way and vote on it. And I think that shows such a lack of respect for this process. It shows a lack of respect for our parliamentary rights and privileges. And it shows, Mr. Chair, that this is exactly what I said it is. It is a political stunt, and it is a fishing expedition. And I think that, well, look, I think that, we have to recognize that this process is being subverted right now. And instead of dealing with this in the proper fashion, instead of dealing with this in camera session, which is what we have suggested we would agree to, they want to bring this out into the light and the public and make hay with it, instead of actually doing the work that represents and supports veterans. And so I'll close there, Mr. Chair. I keep referring to you, Mr. Speaker. I apologize for that. But Mr. Chair, but I do have motions that I would like to bring forward, and I'm speaking to Monsieur Desilets' motion. But I did have my hand up previously, so I hope that list is still solid. That once we get through this motion, this amendment, that we come back to that original list and recognize myself as having an amendment to speak to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. May. And on my list, I have Ms. Blenny, Mr. Miao, Mr. Desilets, Mr. Sorai, and Ms. Avca. So, Ms. Blenny, floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Chair. I do just want to put out there, first of all, that I do have to leave by 7:30. I do have another commitment that I also am committed to, so I just want the committee to know that. I can't get a sub, but thank you so much for offering that to me, Blake. I am a whip. I know how that works. So, I'm happy to support this amendment. I was excited to hear Mr. Richards say that we were just going to get on with it, because I was getting frustrated by how political this has become. In December, when I moved to adjourn, we had time the last sitting week on the Thursday. I would have been happy to sit. I don't get vacation. I'm sure most of us don't. I was trying to spend time with my constituents. I had obligations to them. And I really believe that constituency time matters, because our constituents matter. So I'm hoping that we can just get to a vote, at least on the amendment that we have, because I keep hearing from the Liberals that they have amendments that they would like to propose. If they have amendments that have a good rationale, I'm happy to consider them. I'm happy to have that discussion. I would like a clear rationale to them, as Mr. Desilets has given as well. But it feels like this is just getting held up. I've been very clear from the beginning. I've said it publicly that I would support Mr. Richards' motion. I know I've interrupted him a few times to try to get him to move the motion. So I just want to say, he moved it. I appreciated that he didn't have a big speech in front of it, and it's unfortunate that we can't even vote on an amendment that everybody has said that they're comfortable with. It would be at good to at least take one step so that we can get one step closer. And I want this done. I think I've been very clear with this committee that I just want this done. And the reality is, I don't know the right answer for this. I really do believe that veterans should be making the final decision. But how that decision is made matters. How that process is made matters. And we have not had clarity. And I really feel sad, because this is now blemished. And you know what? That service in Afghanistan should not be blemished with this. So I'm just trying to get to a place where we can figure out what happened, because I'm sorry, what we were hearing from the minister was not enough for me. I was clear